All right, our first guest on today's Big Blend Radio Food, Wine, Travel show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association is Noreen-Kompanik. Noreen is a member of IFTWA, the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. I just want to keep saying that over and over. She is a San Diego-based freelance travel writer. She's a photographer. She's got over 400 articles published in a gazillion magazines and print publications, digital or not. She is awesome. We had a good conversation with her. I think it was a year or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Time is just keeps moving so fast. I can't keep up. I know, but she's an awesome writer, awesome person, and she really takes diligence about what she does. I mean, when she talks about photography, I remember the last time her talking about, taking courses, making sure that you're good at what you do. And today she's joining us to talk about the ways travel writing enriches lives. And you can follow her, What's in Your Suitcase Adventures. Go to her website. It's noreenkompanik.com now. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I can't. It's Friday afternoon. You never know. But it's Noreen, and it's KOMPANIK.com. So, Noreen, welcome back. How are you?
Well, hi, Lisa and Nancy. Great. I'm super. How are you, ladies?
Good. We're doing good. Now, did I pronounce your last name wrong again, or right again, or not? I want to say Kompanik.
It's Kompanik. That's right.
See, I should have just gone with my gut. Isn't that always true?
Yeah.
Go with your gut. So there it is. Okay, Noreen-Kompanik, everybody. But
that's very European.
Yeah, it feels to me. I feel like
Polish.
Well, where does Kompanik? Eastern.
It's Eastern European. It's my husband's name. Right.
Okay, right. So I'm sorry, but your last name, Kompanik, makes me want to eat food. There's something just delicious about it. It just makes me want to eat. I'm sorry, it's true. I can't help it. I just know that wherever that name comes from, there's good food there. I'm just saying. Is there? Is there good food attached? Yeah. There's always good food, right? Cool. I know. So today you told us right before we went on air that you're in Dana Point. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm actually here on a mini press trip, a very safe mini press trip. And as soon as I'm finishing up here, I am going on a whale watching cruise.
Cool.
So I'm pretty excited about that. This is whale watching season out here in Southern California. And so I'm hoping to get out there today and get some great photos and see some of those immensely beautiful creatures.
Awesome. It's so
astounding. Awesome. Yeah, that is cool. And it's that time of year. Something I miss about California is seeing those whales. Every winter, you think about, winter and the beach don't go hand in hand. That's not true. You got tide pools and you got whales, that come out and hang out. And birds.
The gentle giants.
I
love them.
And dolphins. We always see dolphins. They love to be out there by the boats, and they love to kind of follow the wakes of the boat. They are just so playful.
They're like, come on in. The water's fine.
It is. It's all good in the hood. Yeah. So, this is fabulous that you want to talk about travel writing and how it enriches our lives. Give everybody I know you were on a couple years ago, but for new listeners especially, what led you into the world of travel writing?
So I wanted to tell you that I'm so excited now that because it's been a couple of years, you're right, but I now have over 600 published articles.
Oh, excuse me.
Those are
slap on the wrist. You go, girl. You go, girl.
Awesome.
Well, she does 100 a year.
Well, we talked probably 2 years ago. So anyway, I happened to how I broke into travel writing. I was a registered nurse for 35 years, and I had a friend, and she talked me into going to this travel writing course, and I was like, what are you talking about, freelance travel writing? I thought it was a hoax. I said, come on, don't magazines have their own staff of writers? Well, she wouldn't back off. She's like, you love to write, you love to travel, pull it together, you're looking for something to do for your retirement years, so why not do something like this? So I did. And I signed up for the Great Escape Publishing Ultimate Travel Writers Workshop that happened to be here in San Diego. So, Lisa, Nancy, you can understand I had no choice. She really had me backed into a corner at that point. I realized the first day that I was in this program that was put on, like with some editors from International Living and some of the other top magazines, that editors that I had a chance to meet and other writers, that this was for me. This was it. This was the light went off, and it was the thing for me.
Cool. That's great when that happens.
And so now that you've been doing the 600 articles in, and you want to talk about, this whole enrichment part. I mean, Nancy and I, as full-time travelers, we stopped for 2 years, and that's when you were on the show with us, was actually when we stopped for a couple of years because we had to redo our websites. Everything had changed. And I hated it. I wanted out. Let me out. In fact, we only rented an apartment just because we knew it was going to be short term, so that we knew that, get back out on the road, because there's so much. It's about the people, the places. I think the people are so part of it. Do you feel that when you're writing, that part of the enrichment is the people you meet, and that you can, when the world has been really weird the last, few years, right? COVID, we start to understand that we really do need that contact. We do like people. Even if you're a hermit, you start to miss even your grocery store person, maybe, So it's, when you reflect back after this year of COVID, and of course there's the political madness, and I'm not getting into who, what, and where on that, but when you travel, do you feel like what's going on in the news and the craziness in the world, unless you happen upon something crazy, right? Other than that, don't you feel like people are generally good? Like, doesn't that kind of be the first thing in a way?
Absolutely. Especially I think not only just travel within the United States itself, but when you travel internationally, you get to see a whole different aspect of the cultures and things like this. So it's very enriching. It really and truly is. I mean, there's so many good things about travel writing. When people first get into it, obviously there are those perks that come with the job, the all-inclusive press trips, the chances to visit places that we may have never visited before. But the thing that I realized more than anything else, other than like the surprising discoveries and things like this, are the people you meet. And you're absolutely right about that. They're totally fascinating and a blessing.
They're friendly. They want to talk about their town. They want to talk about what's around their town. They want to talk about their country. They want to be understood. And when you watch the news and then you talk to a few people in a different country, and you're like, okay, so the news says this about your country, Ben, you're saying that. And then you can come to an educated opinion.
Yes. And you know what else I think? I also believe that there are those aspects, as I've written longer, I tend to love going deeper into the type of a story, or what I call the story within the story, covering those stories of hope and perseverance and fate and things like this that are more than just about a destination. It's about people that are a part of that destination and maybe how they've overcome some incredible things in their lives. It's just inspirational.
And it shows also a connection.
There's a connection. And then, when let's look at food in restaurants right now. I've felt so bad for restaurants this last year, and it's just been a really rough thing. But someone has a vision, a dream. Maybe they open a bed and breakfast, a restaurant, a music venue. Maybe it's the whale watching, and then their dream has been kind of rough to do it. But also hearing people's stories. Like go to a winery, you hear how these, wineries, maybe they were the first winery in the region that made the area in the AVA, So you hear those stories and it's like, this is inspiring. You hear the thick and the thin and the passion.
Yes. And don't you agree that the joyous and inspirational stories that we hear, they open our eyes again to what I call the bountiful goodness and endless possibilities of mankind.
Yeah. Exactly. It makes us move forward. And as Americans, we all like to root for the underdog, right? I don't know if that's just, they always say that about Americans, but I don't know if I think we all do at the end of the day, because we know Oh my gosh, I just said it again, Nancy. At the end of the day,
that's
my thing.
Day.
Apparently, I say this a lot now.
Yes.
Can't help it. But yeah, at the end of the day, all of us want the person to achieve their dreams. We do. It's like they tell us when you go to do public speaking, and you're going to speak in a group of people. It's really don't look at everybody as though they're naked. If you're like me and you do that, you're going to get the giggles.
I get the giggles, yeah.
But
that
they say that the people in the
such
group
bad advice.
that are watching you really want you to succeed. They want that. They want you to succeed, and that's what I think generally we all do. And then when we're there and we get those behind the scenes, like scene tours, man, I like to be in the back of the restaurant more than the front. Honestly, I like to be in the back of everything. Like I want to know what's going on, what's ticking, what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're herd animals, We're meant to be together, and we're meant to look, and watch.
Yes, absolutely. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say I want to talk about some examples from your travels, because I know you've done a lot of travel around the world, written a lot. But lastly, we talk about it as a travel writer, it's exciting. It's good for the venue or the place, that we're writing about or photographing. But also, let's talk about the reader discovering someplace that they didn't know about, or maybe even trying something new that they never knew that they were interested in. Maybe it's kayaking or jumping off of mountains. Who knows what it is, but they discover something new and try something new, and then you find out about it as a writer. Doesn't that feel darn good?
It does. I think that, when I would talk about like different discoveries, one of my best experiences, and this was again in 2019, was a trip down to the Dominican Republic. If you can recall, they'd had some pretty bad press coverage on some issues, some illnesses and deaths and everything down there, which I have my own, feeling on, but we're not going to go there. But nonetheless, the thing about it is that destination was such a surprise to me. Number one, I felt completely safe walking the streets. It was on a press trip, but it was a very small group press trip. I felt like the people were so incredibly friendly. The culture was wonderful. The food was terrific. And I walked away from there with a whole different experience than what people were hearing in the news. And it made me feel so good to be able to write those stories and tell people why I loved the Dominican Republic. So, so not only do we, get to experience these wonderful destinations, but then we get to tell stories and get other people excited, or, tell the other side of the story that, wait a second here, maybe those were a couple of incidences, but that's not the entire country, and that hasn't happened for years and years. And so you had a handful of things happening, but that didn't change anything with the fact that I was completely and totally in love with this destination.
That good and bad happens everywhere in the world. So, and the press picks up something and it gets blown up and it goes on for years and years and years. I remember when we lived in Julian, California, and we had to leave because of fires and go hang out somewhere else for a while. We're in Arizona, hearing that the whole town burned down. Well, that could have been
including our house.
Truth. Yeah, including our house that we were in. And that came from a San Diego newspaper. Thank you very much. It wasn't true, and so it's sometimes you cannot rely on the press. However, I also say don't turn a blind eye to it. You got to go do your own digging and find out and look at different sources before you believe something.
And
really
that is so true. That is so true. I think the other thing about this that I wanted to mention as well, that I was thinking about when we were talking about the people and everything else like this, is think about the fact that sometimes we don't really know what other people are going through. Sometimes we don't really understand. And for me, I think that those have been some of the most inspirational things. I just have to share this with you. I was on a plane to Hawaii's Big Island a couple of years ago. And sitting next to me on the plane was this 70-year-old man, And we got to chit-chatting back and forth. He was in stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he was still competing in the Ironman triathlon.
Oh, no way. Dude.
Wow.
Yes.
Dude.
And those are the type of stories, that comes to mind, like that, and another one that I was thinking of too when we were talking about like international travel, is like the story of this beautiful wine owner down in Valle de Guadalupe, Mexico. I don't know if you've ever been down to the wine.
Oh, we used to live there. Yeah, we used to live there.
Oh my gosh, you've lived everywhere.
We're trying.
We're trying, man. We just want to be everywhere. And I really hope reincarnation exists and then we could be immortal just so we can keep traveling and drinking as much wine as possible and chocolate. Thank you. But yes,
I'm with you.
Beautiful area.
Oh, it's beautiful. But here's the thing. So, here we go. As a travel writer, I go down there with a group of writers, and we're going to cover, the wineries and the food, because they've got some great food too of Valle de Guadalupe. Lo and behold, as fate would have it, I really kind of connected with a wine owner down there from Adobe, Guadalupe. Her name is True Miller. And when I heard her story, she doesn't give interviews about her personal experiences. She's just not that kind of a person. And all of a sudden she came to me after we did some wine tasting with her, and she said, "Would you have lunch with me?" And so I sat down and I had lunch with her, and she said, "I'd like to tell you a story." And I hope you have tissues ready. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard, and I'm going to make this really quick. But I have to tell you that she and her husband had always, he had always dreamed of owning a winery. They looked at Sonoma. It was too expensive. And then all of a sudden he had a friend that said, "Why don't you look at Valle de Guadalupe?" They went down there. They looked at property. They found some that they thought would work. Their son, who was in college at the time, was so excited about, running the winery with his dad when he graduated from college. He was killed in a car accident.
Oh.
And so after that happened, True, who was originally from Holland, was like, "There's no way. I don't want a winery. I don't want to do this." But then her mother, who lived in Holland at the time, was so excited that she actually sent her a package and said, "I think you need to have this winery, and I'm going to send you some Dutch guilders," right? The Dutch guilders were exactly, now this is crazy, the exact amount that the winery that the land was costing.
Wow.
It was like an unbelievably fateful story.
Cool.
Anyway, so those are just some of the things that so they did buy the winery. She does believe in angels. They watch over her son and watch over the winery. But imagine the fact that you dig a little bit further, or you have these relationships with people, which is to me is one of the biggest blessings of travel in general. And you find these things. It's unbelievable.
Nice.
I love that. I mean, it's these kind of stories to me that's what it's about. It's not just like, the ingredients of every bit of chocolate. And we do that. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge part of it. I mean, if someone's sourcing from here, it's in a big deal. But it is those human interest stories, and I think that's why Anthony Bourdain was and still is such a big influence in all of our lives. I don't know if you like him, but I mean, he got down to, he's like, I cry every time I think of him, but he keeps me on that path of tell the story about the people who built this place. If you go to a ghost town, who was behind the ghost town? What happened?
Yeah. Right. Right.
That's
Don't you agree before him? I think that Anthony Bourdain inherently understood that food is an integral part of culture. And I also think before him, no one was really traveling for food. Do you think?
Yes. There's one person, not internationally. Clementine Paddleford. I've got a thing about it. She was one of our earlier American writers who wrote about American food, and she's one of our first recognized women writers who's, there's a book about her. It was like a Bible to me. And we did an interview when we first started our show like 14 years ago with these two writers from New York that wrote about her found manuscripts and went back in the archives of all the different newspapers she wrote for. She would fly into Iowa and sit down at someone's farm table kitchen and learn how to cook. What are we cooking in America?
Love this.
Clementine Paddleford, and we have a lot of these stories, and they're hidden. And I love your topic that you wanted to talk about today, because you go into these small towns and you'll find these somewhat smaller stories, but they're the bigger story of the founding of America, right? And just in this country. Yes. Of course, this is international, right? Where did they come from internationally? Now you want to go, like, to me, the hardest part of being in the travel world of travel writing, photography, the whole thing is I want to write a book about every single person that I find out about, and I want to dig into their roots. I want to, you know what I mean? That's hard.
I do.
Yeah, you want to do that too. You want to. It's like you could go on a whole, Yeah, but that's hard. That's the hardest part.
When I used to lead tours to Kenya, the first thing the group of travelers that I'm going to lead ask about was the food. Always. Like, they're not asking about what kind of shots you have to have, how many borders they're going to cross, all the steps, is it safe? The first questions were always about the food. So I think food is a major, major part of travel. Absolutely.
I do too. I have to agree with you on that. Because the bottom line to it is when you travel, you eat. So of course it is.
Yeah.
But it tells you the story of a community. When we're in Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and this last year, Lake Charles and the surroundings got
cool,
as we would say in South Africa, donnered, which would be like thunder in an expletive way, with the hurricanes. And our friends all through Louisiana, and we even changed publishing dates of things just to make sure who's doing what and where. Lake Charles, we did some stories there, human interest stories. One was Alvin Shields, whose family was a sharecropping family, and he went on to be in the Army, traveled the world in the Army, became a engineer, very prolific one, wrote books. He also saved his sharecropper family home within Cane River Creole National Historical Park. It was the last one left, and he saved it, and he interprets the stories for kids and shows them how they made plantation toys out of these wire, wire little cars and wire, dolls and things that I grew up as a kid in Kenya. We all had those and played with them. And he was showing them, and we're like, oh my God, well, I grew up with these in Africa. And he's like, what? Okay, what tribe? Where I'm like, dude, they did it in South Africa too. So I don't think it's just a specific tribe. So we did a video, and we actually, unfortunately, have to battle racist comments at times. But also Jeff Benoit, who has this amazing boudin store where he makes boudin, which is a cultural dish of Southwest Louisiana. Even into Lafayette, they have boudin wars of this sausage that is made there. It's part French.
I've had it. It's wonderful. Oh,
it's good. Well, he made us eat hogshead cheese. I don't know, man. But but we did it, right? Whether you like it or not. And so this tie back to an area was so huge. And when you see things on the news of hurricanes and stuff, that's where, the enrichment of lives of travel writing, going out to these places and knowing, like, his boudin store is not like they're doing a whole gas station food trail in Louisiana. Food map of gas stations.
Wow.
Gas stations because it's good food. And other parts of the country would go like, is that beneath us? Oh, we ate out of a gas station. No, it's the way it is, and it's good. Listen, everybody needs some fried food sometime. I know you were a nurse, but you know what I mean. So it's something.
It's not all fried.
But I mean, the boudin thing to this day, people are still watching that, and I'll never forget watching something that in our own country, sometimes we just get so used to our country, and I think COVID taught us to really appreciate what we have in our backyard, and we have all these international cultures here in this country, and food is it. Alvin Shields has pie recipes in his plantation toy book, and recipes from the sharecroppers. And so just that's I still can't get past that. It's still so huge. And every place you go is a food thing because the food comes from the people.
And you know what's really crazy about it? Those recipes have so few ingredients as compared to a big recipe by well-known chefs, and here's like your 25 ingredients. These recipes, like
with imported truffles,
you're 5 or 6 ingredients.
Simple. They're simple, right?
And
I like both.
Good.
So I like both.
I like them both. Me too.
They're both important, but
just look at our
waistlines. Yes, don't talk about it. Listen, I wanted to ask you about being a nurse and travel. Does that make you more of an empathetic traveler? I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Just kind of like understanding people better, like having a bedside manner, having that understanding people's heart and souls where they're at, even if, because I know with nurses you deal with a lot of fear, right? And God bless you all, nurses, because I think you guys have the hardest job on the planet. Really. But you have an idea of where people are at their worst. So when you see people at their, it's got to be an interesting balance with that. Also, their best are trying to show off, and this is what we're doing, you know?
I think that's a great question, Lisa. And I think what happens is that as people who are drawn into the field of medicine in general, well, we hope and pray that they have empathy. And while I did have empathy over the course of years, and then there was that thing about meeting people where they are, because you have to. Everyone's different. And all of a sudden when fear jumps in, it's a whole different ballgame because, you know, I know for myself personally, being a nurse and being a patient are two totally different things. So there was definitely the part that I tried to, you know, that I truly felt empathy. And there were a lot of situations where there was a lot of sadness. I mean, we saved a lot of lives, but we lost lives too. But I think that travel on top of those experiences even makes it bigger. And this is what I tell people and I'm not bringing politics up into this, but when I tell people that, you know, who you are and what you believe is so much based upon like your childhood or your life experiences and things like this. And for me, you have to meet people where they are. You have to, being open-minded and being accepting and that type of thing really not only shows other cultures and other people that we think that they're worth something, and that we think that they are, you know, they're worthy and worthwhile and good people. But we get the blessings too. That's what really ultimately happens. It's like a ping pong ball. It just keeps bouncing back and forth, and that each side of the equation gets to take all that goodness with it.
I totally agree. I you know, to me, before you hate something, you really need to know about it, and then you find out that hate goes out the window.
Oh, hate is just so you're just killing yourself if you hate.
I mean it's just it really and it's always based on fear, which is always based on insecurity, which is always based on lack of knowledge. So before you get all just go educate yourself first.
Right. Classic case is Mexico, okay? How many times that you're going to laugh at this, I'm going to make you laugh on this, but how many times I would have people, because I travel to Mexico a lot, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I think the culture is enriching. I love the food. I love the people. I get questions like, you're going to love this. Well, I know, but isn't it like unsafe? Like, isn't there like a drug culture down there? I mean, do you really think it's safe?
Yep.
So this is what I love to do. I know it comes from my many years as a nurse. I'm sure of it, but you know, and my personality. But I don't answer the question. I respond to the question with a question. I'm like, I don't know. Are you planning on going down there and buying or selling drugs?
Yeah.
Stops the conversation.
Or how about, have you ever been to Harlem?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well,
have you been downtown LA lately? Have you walked Hollywood and Vine?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's interesting. When we lived there, people thought we were nuts, and I used to drive down. The very first time I drove to Mexico, I was following my aunt who went off, and I got lost at rush hour in Tijuana, and got stuck. You know that roundabout, and the roundabout going round and round. I ended up driving into a. You know how they have the guys standing out there? They want to clean your car. They want to fix your car. You know, they're good at advertising, man. I swear to God.
They're really good.
So I'm like, I drove into a garage, and they're like, "Oh, we'll fix your car." I'm like, I don't know where the hell I am, and I'm going Ensenada. That's all I know. I don't know the street. I have to remember from a trip we took like a few months ago, but I don't know where I'm going. And I found my way. I found my way home. They helped me. We didn't speak the same language,
but they help.
But they helped me. And you know, I've also been pulled over because it was Christmas time and it was time to pull people over. I've gone through a lot in Mexico.
Not driving fine.
They said, "Señorita, you're not driving fine," and I'm like, "Yes, I am, but okay. Here, take some money and it's fine." But Mexico is, you know, people have that fear, like you're talking about. And we've had friends that have, you know, stayed in North Korea and gone through that whole experience. And so everyone talks about Korea, and it seems it's South Korea. But I remember our friend Henry Bernanke flew there. He came on the show, and people are like, "Oh, you went to South Korea?" It's like, no, there is a North. That, you know, we all just get political about it, but he went there and experienced it. You know, that's a whole crazy thing. That is crazy, actually.
It is crazy, but I think even now for travel, one of the things that I tell people if they have that fear is one of the things that I like to use is that I have done some travel. I, you know, zipped in a little trip to Mexico in between, and I've done a lot of coastal, you know, type California trips because I do tend to cover a lot of, you know, beach town and beach stories and things like this. But, you know, I've been on planes. I have been, you know, I've taken road trips. I've been to see family and things like this. And I tell people, gosh, but you know what? I don't have COVID. And why do you think that is? Because I'm safe, because I stay safe, because I wear my mask, because I do what I'm supposed to do. And the bottom line to this for people is whatever their comfort zone is. If your comfort zone is not to get on a plane right now, then don't get on a plane right now.
Yeah,
then don't. But don't complain about it and say, oh, my God, you know, just figure out what it is for you. For me, I'm not a huge risk taker, but at the same token, I don't feel at risk when I'm wearing my mask or walking down the street or, you know, walking into a restaurant. And then, of course, you can take it off when you eat here in California. You know, so we do that open for outside dining. But that's really the bottom line. With anything with travel, though, don't you think, Nancy and Lisa, I think it's like whatever your comfort zone is. If you are comfortable to go to North Korea or you're comfortable to, you know, go to Colombia, then do it. If you're not, then, you know, then go someplace, you know, that you are more comfortable. But travel, don't sit at home.
Yeah, because don't be a baby about it, because if you're really paranoid, like to me, I think you should go a little bit out of your comfort zone, but you have to be comfortable with going out of your comfort zone. Because if you're really paranoid, something bad is going to happen because you've almost brought it on you, man. It's like you're almost looking for it. You're almost looking for it.
You make yourself a victim because, you know, it's kind of like the people who are not going to be your best friends when you're traveling, look for people who are nervous because they're an easy mark. So when you give off that I'm nervous, you can be lost and still be not nervous. You really can. I mean, we get lost all the time, and now it's one of our best things to do. Sometimes we do it on purpose because you find out more stuff.
Or get stuck in the mud, right, Nancy?
Right. Well, the mud is good. It's good for your skin. Yeah. Come on, just get out there and push that vehicle.
Oh, the journey is half the fun.
Well, yeah,
it is.
You know, it's your attitude of travel is. I mean, after all, the reason you travel is to experience something different.
Yeah. What is something that
don't get freaked out when something's different.
That's what I want to ask before we go here, Noreen. Nancy says experience something different. What is a food thing that's completely different that you've eaten that you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I'm here? What's like the most recent one, let's say, of like, okay, this is new? Because that's a weird, I think you could stay in a weird place, you could be in weird places, but actually in putting something in your mouth is different. There's a different intimacy with it.
I have two things. And I do have a reputation when I go on press trips, and I only do small press trips because I don't want big groups of people because it drives me crazy. It's like,
I'm with you.
I like to be on a tiny group with a bunch of really top professional writers and things like this where we have a lot in common with. So I have a reputation for what they call as Noreen's taking one for the team. So, say that you're in, Mexico or, Dominican Republic or the Caribbean, and, and one of the restaurant owners brings something to the table and says, "Oh, you have to try this." So the two things that I'm thinking about is grasshoppers and grasshoppers, fried
chocolate.
grasshoppers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've had chocolate, but then I had the fried, and then the other thing was chicken feet. Recently,
I'm not a fan of the chicken feet. I'm not a fan of that, but it happens.
I kind of pushed it around my plate, Lisa, but I took one for the team.
You did. You go, girl. Though I did flying ants in South Africa.
Yeah,
Nancy
termites.
You did. What was the other thing?
Termites.
And she did drink the worm at the bottle of the mezcal.
I did the tequila with the worm.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's well preserved.
I've done some weird things as a kid.
I mean, I don't even know if I'm like, is it a real worm? Because it looks kind of plastic.
It's you do eat. It's easier when you're a kid, but as an adult, you start to get like But to me, it doesn't have to be the weird, crazy things. It's just even normal things like you want me to eat a raw banana. I'm gonna have a problem.
A raw banana,
green.
Lisa. Oh, you mean
I know.
green? Yeah. Okay, I was going to say.
I'll eat a green one before I'll eat a raw one. I'm weird, like a raw banana. I'm going to have a problem, but I do it. I'll do it.
Yeah,
I will do it.
But you'll do it. But I think about like the first time I ever had like raw oysters, for example. I love oysters, okay, but the first time I ever had them, I needed a little help. I mean, it was like, all right, so I slathered it with. I know.
That's good help.
I slathered the oysters with cocktail sauce, right? And then I was like, okay. And then I followed it with like, I don't know, probably a glass of a Sauvignon Blanc. But then as time goes on, you kind of develop like a taste for things that you thought maybe you didn't like, but that you tried it, and then your taste changes. But anyway,
yeah. Your taste. Well, because none of us liked wine when we were kids, right? And now we all drink wine.
Right.
Coffee, the same thing. Okay, not true. But boudin was one of those things I had to kind of like, get past,
No, not true. That
cheese.
either.
No, for me,
that's
I'm saying.
good.
But hogshead cheese, I'm still
that's
still
dicey.
a little difficult for me to swallow that one. But I did it, and I will still always, do it because it's like you never know. I mean, these people are eating what they eat in their culture and with love, and it's part of their environment, and just because it's foreign to you doesn't mean it's not good. And and if you can develop a palate of eating different things, that's awesome. Nancy and I, unfortunately, are allergic to anything to do with fins,
the ocean,
seafood, or freshwater fish.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
It's different.
But I mean, you just try all the other stuff and get on with it, man. And that's what the world is like. Experiencing new things is so exciting. It's vigor. It makes you feel good. But Noreen, we've got to go. You've got to go and play on a boat with whales.
Cool.
One thing before you go, last question. Being a member of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, what's your favorite thing about being a member?
The camaraderie with my travel professionals, whether it be the writers, the photographers, the PR reps. I love them you're having on the show today, following me, and Doug is wonderful, and I know him. But I think that's what it is. I love the camaraderie of just being with people. You learn so much from each other. You learn more about food, about wine, and travel and things like this. And I really also enjoy, because I'm an assistant editor now for the magazine. I work with Chris Cutler, and that's been really great because, I mean, that's been a whole different experience, too, is working with other writers, editing their work, you know, kind of giving feedback. But I have to say, the camaraderie is amazing in this group.
Cool.
So amazing.
And everyone, the latest issue of Food Wine Travel magazine is out now. So go check it out. And also go to ifwtwa.org. That will lead you to everything. I always say follow the hashtag IFWTWA because all these travel writers, food writers, wine writers, I know even with COVID, I mean, you're getting destination stories. Everyone's doing webinars and tasting wine and doing food and all kinds of cool things. And also, writers have been digging into all these other stories they had in their vault. And did give time to writers to get into their vault and share all these amazing stories. So follow them that way. But thank you so much, Noreen. I know you're in California. We know you love California. You write a lot about California. You're going whale watching. You're in Dana Point. We're a little jealous. But actually, we really love Asheville. Where you're never jealous. You just want to be everywhere at once. That's the thing.
That's true. I love Asheville, too. I love Asheville.
Asheville rocks, man. It really does.
Gosh.
So we're gonna play a song for you. It's called California Days. It's by an amazing Josh Pfeiffer. We saw him when we were up in Tuolumne County and doing the Yosemite area years ago, and we keep playing his music. He comes on our shows every year or so. But California Days, I think that be the official state song. I'm just saying. So here it is, California Days by Josh Pfeiffer off of his album American Crooner Act 1. And then right after that, everyone will get to Doug over in Phoenix. And we have a song for him, too, that's off the Sonoran Desert. So here it is, California Days. Everyone, you can keep up with Noreen. Go to her website. Yeah, Noreen, I'm going to give everyone your website is Noreen-Kompanik, and it's Kompanik, right?
Yep.
There it is. All right. Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you, ladies. It was a pleasure talking to you, and fun as always.
Oh,
same
absolutely.
to you.
And we can't wait to see what's going to happen with the whales. I'm going to be following all your social media posts for that, for sure.
Okay. All right. See ya.
Take care.
See ya.
You too.
I love California days where the sunshine smiles on every face, where the ocean breezes blow and the swaying palm trees grow. I love California days. Take a drive on down the coast, find the things you love the most, from the Golden Gate to La Jolla Bay. Everybody knows it's true, so there's nothing you can do but pack your bags and head on down this way. California days. California day. I got my sunshade and put the right top down to stay. We could head to Monterey watch that sunset fade away. I love California days. Take a drive on down the coast, find the things you love the most. From the Golden Gate to La Jolla Bay, everybody knows it's true, so there's nothing you can do but pack your bags and head on down this way. California day, the California day.